Hi everyone, this is JJ with Desert Diva, and I recently wrote a uh, post. Sorry, it's kind of the end of the day here. I feel like I might be losing it a little bit here. So I wrote a post about perfectionism, actually about letting go of perfectionism, and I thought it actually might make kind of a good video, and it's fairly quick, and I think it's really helpful though for people, especially people who have been in business for a while and want to strike out on their own about why perfectionism actually holds you back. And this is true for people that are in the working for others in the business world, not just entrepreneurs. So the first thing is that perfect is not up to you because perfection is an outcome and the results are not within your control. The only things that we can really control are our actions. That's kind of it. Thoughts happen. They are not always true or helpful, so you don't want to attach to your thoughts too much. Emotions happen, and again, these are not generated in your conscious mind, so they just kind of happen. There's not a lot you can do about them. What you can control are your actions, so you can do what you need to do to make the business a success or not do that. And that's really up to you, but whether or not the outcome comes out perfect is not up to you. Um, and it's not possible. And it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how smart you are, it doesn't matter how many followers on Insta that you have. Perfection is not perfect. We are humans, and therefore we are imperfect. So it's not possible. And when you think about goals, because of course, if you're in business, you've been told about goals and how you need to set goals. And if you recall learning about SMART goals, the SMART stands for the S is something. What is the S? Let me go back to here. Yeah, SMART. The M is measurable, the A is attainable, R is relevant, and then T is time bound. So that's SMART goals. So you notice that the A is attainable. It's not a SMART goal where it's SMIRT and the I stands for impossible, because the whole point of setting a goal is to have something that you can actually reach, even if you can't get to it right now. So Jim Collins had talked about big, hairy, audacious goals. And again, audacious, not impossible. It's BHAG, not BHIG. You want to set goals that you can actually reach and not something that's just never possible. And I know that a lot of people like to think of themselves as perfectionists and they like to think of themselves as having very high standards. And I do too. But my standards are high based on the input that I put in. I'm not looking for impossible outcomes. One, because I know I don't control the outcomes, and two, because I'm not trying to achieve the impossible. A high standard is possible. Perfection is not possible. So you can have high standards and not be a perfectionist, and you don't have to let go of those high standards. You just have to let go of the idea that constant fiddling is to try to get everything as close to perfect as possible is what you need to do, because that is not the case. So perfect holds you back. I worked with a guy, and I'm sure he found me as impossible to work with as I found him impossible to work with. So I'm not saying I come off really well in this story here, but he was so afraid to get things wrong that he couldn't get started. And at the time, I had a really heavy client load, and what I needed was somebody who could just take something and run, that I could say, okay, here's the project, start here, figure it out, let me know when you have questions, we'll get back on this in a week or something. Something like that. Of what I did not have time for, and frankly, I don't have the temperament for either, is somebody who, when you're about to, say, go to the second floor, you have to tell him, take the steps, pick your left foot up and put it down. Then pick your right foot up and put it down. Then you're going to be near the stairs. Pick your left foot up and put it on the first step. I mean, literally, that was how this guy had to be told how to do his work, because he was so afraid of failing. So, did he get any interesting work from me at all? No. he got the stuff I couldn't be bothered to do, and it was his first job, so I mean he got some experience, but I had somebody else, another assistant, who helped me out on an interesting project, and she actually made a mistake. She made a big mistake, and at first my boss was freaking out about it, and I wasn't bothered by it because I knew A, it was fixable, and B, I was so pleased that she had tried to solve this on her own that I was like, okay, well, she made a mistake. So to me, it's much better to try things, and as long as you're not gonna, irrevocably destroy something, you try it, and if you make a mistake, okay, then you can go back and fix it. And that may just be me. That's the kind of person I am. I worked with somebody who is the exact opposite, who would have worked with that other assistant very well, because he would send people off to do one tiny little task and then have to come back and report on how it went. And that probably would have worked for that guy I was working for. It just didn't work for me. It didn't work for having a lot of clients either. But it's not just me. It's not just temperament. And I apologize at the moment my phone is going off. So and it rings through on my computer. So we're just gonna have to let it flow through. Right in the middle of my video. It's always fun. And this is what happens when you do videos, kids. And at some point, I probably will learn how to edit the video so I can just edit this stuff out. But today is not that day. So back to perfectionism holding you back. The other thing is it's not just me and my temperament. It's the successful companies out there, and I'm not a Silicon Valley expert or entrepreneur. I'm a writer and a consultant, and I help people be more productive. But the big the big tech companies and the really big successful companies aren't looking for perfection either. They actually send out kind of the minimum viable product that basically won't get them laughed out of the market. Send it out, find out what's wrong with it, find out what people think about it. Then they come back, they iterate the next version of the thing, whatever it is, send it back out to the market. So that way they're not spending all of their time working on something that either nobody wants, or by the time the company finally lets it out, it's obsolete. I mean, in the tech industry, that's a real concern. Not necessarily in mine, but in the tech industry, it is a concern. And and then iterating, so you find out what's wrong with it or what people would like from it. The market tells you, and you come back and you make that fix and you send out the next version. So you're never going through a year-long project management type of thing where you end up at the end probably over budget, probably beyond the timeline that you had wanted, and find out that nobody wants it, it's got bugs that people really can't stand, or whatever the problem is. No, instead you send something out, you get it done. My mantra is done is better than perfect. Get it done, find out what isn't perfect about it, because sometimes people don't mind imperfection if they want something from your product and you give them that and it's some other feature that's imperfect. Who cares? Now you can make a lot of money with your project without having to go through all that extra time to implement. So it really helps you get products out to the market faster, which means you get a return on interest faster. And letting go of perfection is not just about business. You also get some personal benefits from it. One of the things is you get more serenity and more sanity. And I know that everybody out there except me is having such a serene and sane time, especially now in the middle of COVID, that nobody can use more serenity and sanity in their lives. So the first part of I like to call it the serenity statement because I'm not a big prayer person, is grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, right? So I can't change the outcome. I can only change my actions. The outcome is going to be the outcome. Once you start letting go of the results, you feel so much saner, because you recognize what you do have influence over and what you don't, and you're not spinning your wheels trying to do something that you really can't do. Because sometimes you can do everything right and something still goes wrong. And other times people do really dumb things, and through dumb luck, they actually succeed really well. So um, understanding that the outcome is the outcome just kind of lets you see where you have control, where you don't, so that you can stop getting so. And I think my cat is about to video bomb. Maybe not. Sometimes she does. It also allows you to pile up the big rocks. So a lot of us perfectionists end up fiddling with these little teeny tiny details, and that's not what makes you money. So, for example, a lot of people get hung up on the right font or the right colors for their website. And yes, I mean, you do want to have a nice brand look, but do you need to spend all that time fiddling over whether the shade of gray in your logo should be a shade lighter or a shade darker to the point that you never release anything because you're still trying to get the logo exactly right? Or would you be better off with your somewhat not perfect logo, but close enough, going out on sales calls or talking to people if you are an employee and you have a lot of connections that you used to work with, talking to your former connections about what you're doing now? Which of those is going to get you the money sooner? Hint, it's not fiddling around with the color of the logo. So when you are looking at giving up perfection, then a lot of times you give up those fiddly little details and you say to yourself, okay, I really need to get this out the door. That's the important thing. This is good. It's not perfect. It's good. And it's good enough. I'm going to ship it out. And that way you get to focus on the big stuff. You don't sit around fiddling with little things. And in the same way, you get to use your time productively. So for example, I'm in finance, or I was in finance, and I do a lot of writing, but what I have no talent for is graphic design. So should I be spending my time trying to figure out graphic design for my website, or should I be spending time working on my writing or interacting in groups where I'm likely to find my clients or networking or whatever those other things are? Because I could hire somebody to do my website in a lot less time than it would take me. There are plenty of freelance writers who can help you with content. I'm actually one of them. But on your website, you can find people who will charge a much lower rate than what your time is worth. Because once you've been in the trenches for long enough, you have a lot of experience, you have a lot of wisdom, and that's worth something, believe it or not. And I know the youth obsessed culture makes it sound like you don't, but you do. So is it worth your while to spend time fiddling around with logos and graphic designs when you're not a graphic designer? And when you can hire that stuff out for a tenth of what your time really costs. I mean, if you hire yourself out at $200 an hour, should you be fiddling around with your logo or trying to do your graphic design or whatever else it is that is not your forte, when you can hire somebody on a site to do it for you and you can give them the parameters and they can do a pretty good job for you? And then you spend your $200 an hour time talking to, I don't know, CFOs or COOs or CEOs, whoever it is that you're targeting. I mean, go figure. The other place where this really works, because I did say that it works in personal time, and this is especially true for women, is letting go of perfectionism at home. Let other people do stuff. I actually ended up buying a robot vacuum because I hate vacuuming and I have cats and the litter gets all over the place, and I thought, I can either not vacuum and let the litter pile up, or you just get myself a robot vacuum and let it do that. And if you have family, why are you doing all of the housework when you have a family? Why isn't your spouse helping you with things? Why aren't your kids, who are old enough to fix dinner sometimes, why aren't they fixing dinner? Why aren't they cleaning things? Why aren't they doing their own laundry? And at first, yeah, they're going to make mistakes. They are going to mess up. And that's typically the point at which people take that chore back, but don't. So if your kids end up actually accidentally putting the darks in with the whites and now all of their white socks are gray, that's too bad. They're going to have to go to school in gray socks. Guess who's not going to make that mistake again? And the same thing with fixing food. I mean, they're going to need your help, but they don't get let off the hook just because you do a bad job at first. And it may take a little while, but over time you have other people handling this stuff for you. You don't have to do it yourself. And no, they're not going to do it just like you. The vacuum isn't going to be done as well. Actually, I'm a terrible vacuumer, so most people probably would vacuum better than me. But in theory. Your kids are not going to leave the bathroom sparkling clean, which is fine because nobody should be licking anything in your bathroom. So having it clean enough is enough. And what it does is it gives you back the time. So I'm not saying that this has to be another chore to add to your list of, okay, well, on my list of 20 things I have to do today, number 20 is get rid of perfectionism. But it's really about letting things go, letting other people do things, and you take back that time for yourself. And you do the hobbies that you like to do, or you spend time with your spouse, which you haven't been able to do because you've been both cooking the meal and cleaning up after it. And now you understand that other people can do some of these things. Whatever it is that you like to do, spend time with your cats, that would be me, or family or friends, whatever it is. Once you let go of perfectionism, you let people do other stuff, even though they're not going to do it just like you do it, but they're going to get it good enough. And then you have some time to yourself to make sure that you are recharging. I talk a lot about the brain in a lot of my productivity stuff, and a lot of that is because the brain does need rest and recharging. So do it. And letting go of perfectionism is one way that you can reclaim your time. Reclaiming my time. I'm reclaiming my time. Reclaim your time. So that you can give yourself the break that you need to actually be productive. Because grinding away for 16 hours a day actually doesn't make you that productive. Just makes you really busy and tired. And potentially burned out. So that is my treatise on perfectionism. And if you want to get started, just take a small step. A lot of times people feel more comfortable maybe taking a little step at home before they go into work, trying to let go of perfectionism. And if that's the case, then turn over a chore to a spouse or a kid. And again, don't take it back when they mess it up. Just show them where they went wrong and let them try again until they get it. So that's it for me. I just wanted to express that because it was actually kind of fun writing the article. And so I did a video on it. And this is a little bit longer than some of my other videos. So hope you enjoy. And again, this is JJ with Desert Diva Writing.